All right. Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. Um, Real quick before even the intro, I just wanted to note the stream will look a bit different this evening. Unfortunately, I can't really pull up the chats right now. Ordinarily, I have the chats on the screen down here below me. But unfortunately, we can't do that today. I do have the windows open, the YouTube chat and the Discord chat here, which I will try to keep an eye on. So that is still the place to go if you want to ask questions or have comments or want to interact or anything like that. I just can't put them on the screen for this particular stream. It turns out the version of OBS that I have, it crashes whenever you add more than one source. So I can have more than one source of like screen window or whatever. So I can show you my screen, which is what's the main thing showing right now. You can see that we're in the browser and I can bounce back and forth between IDE and all that stuff. I can show you this, but I cannot have this and the chats right now. The good news is the beauty of open source software. This is an issue and it is closed and there is supposedly a fix in for it. So fingers crossed, hopefully I just need to get a newer version of OBS, which I think I can get from the release page of OBS Studio here on GitHub. But anyway, all of that is beside the point. The main thing to keep in mind for today is that we can't show the chats on the screen, unfortunately. I've got them on my other screen over here. I will try to keep an eye on them. How's it going to C. Grover, by the way? Welcome to the Discord chat over there. Good evening and good day to you. So I will try installing the new OBS sometime, hopefully after this stream tonight and before my stream tomorrow. We'll see if that ends up working out or not. But I did not really notice this until I was getting ready to set up for this stream, and I decided it probably was not the best idea to just go and install a new OBS right before I was going to get ready to hop on this stream, just in case anything goes wrong. So today we're going to roll with no chats. Hopefully that's all right. Yeah, that's how we'll do it today. How's it going, Beautograph? PWM debugging is making my head hurt, but at least I have one LED pulsing now. Nice. One is better than zero. It's definitely how it goes sometimes, for sure. Let's see here. So I'm going to just shuffle around a few more windows and then we will be ready to actually get started. So yeah, there we go. I think so. Okay. It's like, that was weird. All right. So with the chat note out of the way, and I'll re-mention that again later on if anybody pops in who's asking about it. But yeah, with that out of the way, onto the normal intro. So to anybody that might be new, hello to you. Hello to all of the folks returning to watch the stream. My name is Tim. I go by FoamyGuy on GitHub and Discord. This is the CircuitPython Deep Dive program. On this program, weekly live stream program, we are working on all things related to CircuitPython. Sometimes we are down inside the CircuitPython core, which is how this live stream started. If you caught it before I was ever doing it, this was started by Scott, the lead developer of CircuitPython. So he was typically working inside the core on this stream. I have continued it on in his absence for now. He's still, not really ready to be back to live streaming on a weekly basis. So I am still here streaming on Fridays. Sometimes we do get into the core. Sometimes we work on CircuitPython libraries. Sometimes we work on infrastructure. Sometimes we work on projects. Just depends from week to week what is going on in the world of CircuitPython and what has my attention for that week. This week, what has my attention is multiple displays, which I don't actually have this pulled up anymore. I should have done that. I think I got a bunch of this stuff ready and then I ended up rebooting. You know what? There's actually an easier way to find this I noticed was here. Yeah, this is the one I'm trying to pull up. So we're going to be taking a look at some to-display stuff today. Before I do jump straight into that, though, let me finish out the intro. So for folks that might be new, if you haven't watched this stream before, if you don't really know what I'm talking about, you can learn more a few different places. One of them is the main website here, circuitpython.org. The other one is in the Discord. The Discord is shown down below me on the screen down that way over there. You can join us there throughout the week, and in particular during the live streams, there is a live broadcast chat channel, which would be the channel that would be on the screen, somewhere down here, if my OBS was allowing it, but right now it's not. But we are still live there, so you can still come there, ask questions, leave comments, that sort of thing, while the live stream is going on. There's also CircuitPython Dev channel, where all of the sort of coordination behind the CircuitPython project occurs, as well as help with CircuitPython channel if you are trying to either work on a project of your own or contribute to a library or documentation or anything like that. You're running into trouble, you can get help on the Discord there. I should say too, if you are brand new and you don't really know what CircuitPython is, this is basically a version of Python that runs on these tiny computers called microcontrollers. There's a bunch of pictures of them over here on the downloads page. Basically, CircuitPython is an implementation of Python that runs on the tiny chips, the tiny computers that are inside the chips on these devices, and it allows you to connect that device to your computer, typically with a USB cable, see it as a thumb drive, and then edit a code file on there with some Python code inside of it. You just save that code file, and whenever you do, the system will kind of reboot itself and start running the newest version of your code. So it's a really quick way to iterate through testing out Python code that interacts with hardware peripherals, electronic peripherals typically. There's lots of different shapes and sizes for these microcontroller boards. Some of them are big, some of them are small, some of them have built-in hardware like keys and screens and knobs. There's different ones that are, better suited for different projects. In particular, today, the one that I am interested in is kind of this Monster Mask device here, which is the only device that I know of that has two built-in displays in its hardware. So we're looking at multi-screen this stuff today, and this will be the device that we're looking at it on. So yeah, that's what we're interested in here. If you want to learn more, like I said, circuitpython.org. And then the last thing I'll mention there is CircuitPython is an open source project. Anybody's allowed to use it on your own devices. Anybody is allowed to add support to new devices for it. So if you are a third-party manufacturer, you've made your own devices, you can add CircuitPython support to those devices if you'd like. There's no cost to do that. All of this stuff is supported financially by Adafruit. This is their website, adafruit.com. They are a hardware and software company based out of New York. They design and manufacture electronic devices. They also employ developers who work on the software for this stuff. In particular, they are employing the developers who work on CircuitPython. There's a team of folks that work on the project full-time. There's other folks like me who work on the project part-time. Adafruit pays us to do so. So thank you to them. And of course, thank you to anybody who wants to purchase hardware from them by going to adafruit.com and buying yourself some goodies. You are helping support CircuitPython and the rest of the open source software and hardware that Adafruit is producing. How's it going, C. Grover? Thanks for introducing bitmap tools during a previous stream. Made a big difference with the dial animation on the VCO. Nice. Let me pull this. I will pull this over and we'll watch the video here real quick. How's it going, Gordy G? Good afternoon. Whoa, that's a neat animation. Some rotate action going on there. Nice. So is that a like a roto zoom then for the initial like zoom in, and then I guess also a roto zoom but with different arguments for the rotation here? Nice, looking good. RotoZoom for both, nice. Yeah, RotoZoom is such a handy utility. It can really get a lot of stuff done as far as like manipulating bitmaps, scale and rotation in there. John Richardson over on YouTube. How's it going, my friend? I'm developing a consumer project trying to decide between Arduino/C and CircuitPython. Worried about lack of libraries and lack of hardware support. Yeah, I mean, I obviously am going to be biased on that, but I certainly think having support for CircuitPython is a huge benefit because we do have loads and loads of libraries that are already written for lots of common hardware that you can kind of take advantage of if you add CircuitPython to support for your device. If it's like one of the main chips that we already support, then adding support for your device is not that hard. You kind of just define which pins are which and what flash storage you have and stuff like that. If it's a brand new main chip, if it's not something that has, if it's a main family or whatever that does not have support yet, that's like a much bigger task. But in terms of just adding a new board, that is an existing family, ESP32 or ESP32S2 or Atmel, SAMD51 or something like that. Typically, it's not too hard to add CircuitPython support, and you get the benefit of hundreds of libraries inside of the different bundles that will then work on your device. That's pretty cool. Worried about CircuitPython's not mature enough, but Arduino is old news. Yeah, I mean, I will say CircuitPython, full disclosure, it's intended as an educational platform more so than a finalized, package up your final product and ship it in a sort of business environment. So, it can be used for that, but it's not the primary focus of Adafruit or the team that work on it to support those types of use cases. So I will say if you are trying to create, a fully finished product or something like that, you will have probably some work on your hands in order to undo some of the ease of operation with CircuitPython because, it's made to be incredibly simple to plug in and then just change the code on. Obviously, that's not necessarily desirable in some use cases where if it's like a finalized product, you may not want your end users or your end customers' users or whatever to be mucking about with it, changing the files on there and stuff. So you may have some work to do to lock it down a bit further, certainly. But yeah, like I said before, I definitely am a biased source. I will say though, like anecdotally, if you are interested in one person's experience, while I do work on CircuitPython now as part of the team, before I did ever actually join the team and start working on CircuitPython, or before I ever was paid by Adafruit to work on it or anything like that, I did actually use CircuitPython and some Adafruit hardware devices in a project for work. Not necessarily at a massive scale. The scales that were involved were about 100 to 200 for one project. We had 100 to 200 Trinket M0 devices, which were running CircuitPython and running a custom script that we created to interact with some other hardware. Those got deployed, all over the US. And I think it went great. I was very happy with the CircuitPython hardware and the abilities that we had to be able to iterate on our design and make changes to it over time. And then another project that we did was an even smaller scale, more so on the scale of dozens. It was Itsy Bitsies, I want to say, Itsy Bitsy M4 devices. And then this one had another custom PCB that they plugged into, which had a lot of PWM sort of plugs with some custom connectors to drive LEDs, fade them up and down. From that perspective, like both of those projects, I had nothing but good things to say about CircuitPython throughout that process of working on both of those projects. Do I do consulting? Not exactly. I mean, I will say, like, if you're interested, maybe reach out and I will consider it. It's not a thing that I necessarily typically do, but it's not a thing I'm like wholesale against either. So it probably kind of just depends on the project and depends on how much time and effort you're interested from a consultant, essentially, like what you're interested in having them do. Can CircuitPython firmware be encrypted? I'm not entirely sure. I don't think so. Not in a typical way, I don't think. But I also will say, like, I definitely am not any kind of go-to resource or authority on security as it relates to CircuitPython or anything else, frankly. Yeah, I don't think so though. I don't think it can be encrypted. I think if the person, like for instance, if a person has a physical copy of your device with your, custom CircuitPython on it or your code.py or whatever, I believe that person can have a way to see the code that resides inside there, especially the Python layer code, code.py. C code that is inside the CircuitPython core. If you were to build a custom CircuitPython core, I don't think it's encrypted, but it is compiled, so it's like a little bit probably more work to be able to see that. But yeah, the truth is I don't know for certain. I'm trying to decide what to code an ESP32 based consumer project. I gotcha. Trying to decide what to code. I see. Okay, so like I said, we're looking at dual screen display stuff, so let me show you what we're working on, what we're looking into right now. So, I didn't mean to do that. Oh well. Trying to run it with Chrome only today for now and see if it if that helps the computer live a little bit better. What are we on here? 226. Make Chrome faster. Okay. This is obviously not a monster mask. This is monster mask. USB cable. Somehow I have managed to remove the USB cable from here. So let me grab a cable real fast. Oh dear. Okay, like I said, this is the only, as far as I'm aware, the only CircuitPython device with 2 displays built in. So it's in kind of a unique sort of category on its own. 2 displays is technically supported on this device. It can work, but it's not super duper fast. As you can see here, we've got animations running on both, and they're kind of hitchy. They're kind of got tears going on in them. Part of what we're seeing is also the recording on this camera that we're looking at this through is not the best. It can't keep up all the way, so it does look a little bit better to the naked eye than it does coming through here, but it does not look perfect, and it is not going to look perfect on the 2 displays there. Like, especially if you have motion on both, they slow down. They're not super duper fast. But the thing that we're looking into is not that. That is fine. That is kind of an expected thing. What we are looking into is the fact that we're getting these hard faults. So I'm assuming we're already into the hard fault here. Yeah. Right now it says running in safe mode. We're in safe mode because CircuitPython core crashed hard. Whoops. If we... I did it again with the... That's going to be hard. If I reset here... Reset, it's under this on this one. Reset here. This will come back up and it will start playing. This time we have TO connected so we can actually see. And basically what happens is when it boots up and it starts, everything is fine. It will keep going. Essentially, I think it will keep going forever. It did mess up last time. I think the reason why it messed up just a second ago is probably the IDE made some write to the file system, which caused it to reset. The other thing that will make it mess up is if I cause it to reset by doing a Control-C, which is going to break out of CircuitPython and go into the REPL. that causes a reset, which then also ends up leading, in this case, to the hard fault. So if I'm just going to press Control-C in here, and I actually have a version of CircuitPython right now with a bunch of other print statements inside of it. So we do actually see a bunch of other print statements. And interestingly, actually, it did not crash yet, which actually, that might be a hint, right? That tell us. The fact that it has not crashed yet, I think, tells us something. It is a little bit interesting that our terminal is on the right display now when the left display is the main one. A bit odd, but I don't think it's like necessarily bad or good. So I'm just going to press Control-C again, which would get us to the REPL prompt ordinarily. But as soon as it got there, it disconnected, and then now it has reconnected, and it did not print into the TO's console, but the stuff on the display here, this is the hard crash. Yeah, crashed hard. Whoops. This is the same message we saw before. So as soon as we Control-C and get into the REPL, we crash. What code runs in order to actually support the REPL? I don't know for certain. So every time I save to my CircuitPy drive, it restarts right away. And then again, 10 to 20 seconds later. I've noticed the double resets sometimes as well. I've always suspected my IDE or something else on my computer is doing that extra right and then causing the other reset. I've never actually tracked it all the way down, though. So I don't know. Let's see. Search for how to obfuscate Python code effectively. Yeah, as far as like trying to keep your stuff a little bit more secure in there. So what we're going to try first is actually we're going to try to see if I can get this to fail on a different port. This device is based on an Atmel SAMD 51. Actually, let's go look at the pinouts page real fast. Let's see if there's anything like, see if we can. The thing is, I don't know if we can debug on this device. Like, I want to try to get a debug build. On Atmel SAMD, does the debug build output anything more through the standard serial port than if it's not a debug build? Is there any reason to think we might get extra information there? So basically, we need to try to hopefully get a stack trace from the hard crash, so that we can then go fix it inside the core. There's nothing about debug here. What's the name of the plug on like a Metro where you plug in the JTAG thing? This plug. I think it's that plug. Or is it the 6-pack thing? I'm second guessing. Well, the 6-pack, that's like SPI, I think, right? Doesn't actually say. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's this, but don't think any of that stuff is broken out, so like I don't know if or how we can get more full stack traces. I guess let's try a debug build first. SWD, thank you. SWD, nothing. Okay, let's just try a debug build and see if we do get anything more interesting out of that. This will be from main as well, which means it won't have my additional prints. Well, I thought it'd be nice if there was a way to obfuscate my secret spy file, but I don't think CPU is designed with that kind of insecurity. Yeah, I mean, we switched over recently to TOML, settings TOML, but the core, the root of that problem does still exist, which is that it's an unencrypted text file, essentially. It would be nice, it would be kind of cool if there was a way to have it more secure. I would agree to that. I will say it's a double-edged sword because if it were to force encryption, it makes it harder to set up. And since it's targeted at really, really basic educational users and use cases, every kind of barrier that we can take out of the way is helpful. It would be interesting, though, if there was maybe like a build flag or some like very advanced sort of way of setting it up to where you could specify it to be encrypted, and maybe, I don't know, you'd have to maybe build a custom build and like put your key inside of it or something. That would be kind of cool. I know there have been folks throughout the years who have worked on more locked down versions of CircuitPython. I don't know the current state of them. I know it's been something that has caught a couple of people's interest before. Oh, we probably ran out of room, didn't we? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I guess we need to probably turn off something. Yeah. Let's turn off Microlab, what we did on the other build. I don't remember the right file to put this in. There we go. mpconfig mk. Oh, nice. That one's in the we should keep a counter. Somebody I don't want to know the number. Uh-oh. What is this? Maybe I should have done a clean. Yeah, let's try a clean. They like They broken out to pads or anything even? I bet I can't search this image like OpenCV. It's SWD. This means just basically not connected, basically, right? Like SWDIO is just floating, and then SW clock is tied to, I guess, 3.5 volts, tied to the voltage line with a 2.2K resistor. Would not necessarily say that reading circuit diagrams is something I trust myself to do correctly. So my impression of that could be wrong. Accelerometer JST ports. Interesting if there was like a stemma debug thing or something. That'd be kind of cool if we could debug through stemma ports or something. Did you say Tamil? I may have. Toml is what a TOMLE is. No E. TOML is what I meant to say. Not actually sure how I pronounced it. It could have had a bit more twang to it and came out more like Tamil. Oh, there's some SWDs on the light sensor. Okay. Inconclusive, but not necessarily looking so good as far as like, are those broken out somewhere? If anything, I assume it's gonna be like one of these, like, or maybe this. Is that it? Doesn't say. Oh, that's weird. Mine's different. Is it? Oh no, it just, okay, I see. Oh, no? Yeah, no, mine's definitely different. Mine's definitely different. There's no writing right here. But on mine it does. I wonder if those 3 pins are part of the debug. Oh, you know what? These ones over here say SWDIO, SWDCLK. Okay. Those are probably the 2 we would need, actually. I don't really know how I would go about connecting to them. I'd have to just bodge, kind of like bodge wire hang off of them, honestly. Maybe, if it comes down to it, maybe we'll do that. We'll see. I'm going to try without that. And I even, like, ultimately, I'm going to try on the espressive port a bit. If it comes down to it, though, if that's the best way to do this, maybe I'll just kind of stick a bodge wire on there temporarily and then see what we can do with that. We need to get to bootloader. I actually have... Oh, I see Toml, that's how you pronounce it. Okay. Let's go. I think I have this import. I've been using this reboot bootloader instead of trying to play the double click game. I made this script with just the commands in it to actually reboot there. Pretty convenient, especially if you are developing and find yourself doing a lot of these, you know, make a build and then CP the file over. The thing is, I don't think that this actually prints any additional data out the USB port. I'm not sure. Wonder if we should have changed CodePy. Turned the wrong way. Control C once. We got code done running. Press any key. Control C one more time. Didn't crash. And it's actually updating here. Oh. Huh. We made it way farther. Well, I mean, we made it 2 steps farther. It does have the hard crash message on there, though. Huh. That's interesting. Wonder why we made it farther. Anyway, though, it did not print anything out as far as, like, more useful, honestly. Basically the same message. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to try to see if we can find the same hard crash on ESP port, because the Feather, gently bring this one back over, the Feather ESP32S2 has a debug pin, which will output some more detailed traceback information for us if it's in debug mode. Oh dear. Just knock up. Don't see where it went, so I have to look around for that later. Hopefully a cat does not find it. There is a Tamil. Look at that. Finding the coolest and simplest markup language. If we can get the same thing to fail on this device, we can read it through the debug pin, which is like the top right pin up here. I have it connected up with these wires. There's not much to see, but they're connected with this thing, which is an FTDI cable. We can basically see more information. And in particular, it spits out a hex representation of a stack trace that you can then turn into an actual stack trace using some helper script that's inside the core repo. So if we can get the same crash on this device, we should be able to get the stack trace for it. Now, the tricky bit is going to be, can we actually get the same stack trace, or the same hard crash, I should say, on this device? And I'm not necessarily for sure we're going to be able to. I think I did try a bit and did not actually run into the same issues, so we'll see. Unfortunately, I don't have that reboot bootloader, but I am actually just going to copy that because I've got a copy of it here now. Put that there. See, and the thing is, this just reset and ran fine, right? Like, theoretically, on the Monster Mask, that would have hard crashed, so already we kind of are not quite as having the same kind of trouble, so it's like be port specific. We are just on main, so we can't actually just build directly main and have this work because this device only has one display by default. Of course, want to use two. I'm going to bring in the ULab thing because we're going to want to make a debug build. Turning off ULab is helpful for that. But then we also want multiple displays. I probably could have used that compare. Oh, hey, there we go. np config board H. Go. Two displays, no ULab. Should be all we need. Okay. Expressive build, so we gotta do the IDF thing. I'm gonna do a clean. Hopefully we can get the same kind of crashes coming out of this one. Because if it truly is only on the Monster Mask, I'm entirely sure what we do next. One thing I should probably do is use another SPI display. Right now we have one I2C. This one over here is on I2C, and then this one over here is on SPI. We have one of each, whereas the Monster Mask is actually two, both displays on SPI. I think even both, is it both displays on the same bus, or are there two different buses? Part I don't remember. Start closing some of these. It's two buses. It's separate buses. Okay. Hmm. How could we try that? We got a good build. Bootloader mode. I guess one thing we could do on the monster mask, in lieu of having a stack trace, is we could do a bisect to try to find the commit where it breaks, and then we can see the code in that commit, and we at least have like something to look at for where it might be coming from. SCL in use. Oh, yeah. Disable the something. We need to disable something else. That's weird. This JTAG. MP H. JTAG, it tries to use the I2C pins. But we don't want to do that because we're trying to use the I2C pins to connect the display with. So we could go to like a Pico. On a Pico, we could have 2 SPI buses, one for each display. That's more like how the Monster Mask is, although the Monster Mask also has got a lot more in the mix because it has a seesaw as well, which is hooked up to like the reset pins and the backlight pins and some things on the displays. Whereas in our case here, we don't, there's no seesaw in the mix. Everything else is all direct. Wouldn't think that would be the cause of our issues, but I also don't necessarily know how we could rule it out. Okay, we got both back up and running. Control C once. And this is something I noticed. We start getting duplicates here, which is not necessarily correct, but is also not a hard crash. Control C again, and it actually duplicates again to where we now have like a 6-pack going on. We've got like 3 rows of duplication, and then now like it's been duplicated again into columns as well. Only one of them gets filled in with this stuff. That's very weird. I don't know what's up with that. Maybe it's trying to use this display's size or something. But the thing is, like, it doesn't crash. Right back to there. We get our printout from that, no problem. So at this point, like, we're not reinitializing this other display, but it's also just staying on whatever the last thing it drew was. Yeah, I don't know. So something's messed up there where we're getting the duplication going on. I don't know what's the cause of that, but I mean, I guess that could be tied to our hard fault. Maybe the espressive port, for whatever reason, handles this problem a little bit more gracefully and just duplicates the certain sections of the screen, whereas whatever the actual root problem is causes the monster mask to hard crash. Interesting theory. Which version was the display IO API change? I want to try to narrow it down to that or not. That's with 800. Okay. So we'll go, I guess, back to 7 and see if we have the same thing. 733. I missed before. It didn't crash as soon as we went to REPL, but it did as soon as we ran a print. There are 2 sets of SWD pins on the Monster Mask, a set for the Seesaw chip and a set for the SAMD51. That makes sense. I guess probably the set of 3 is probably the Seesaw, because it's over on the side where the silk screen does say Seesaw right by there. Yeah. Nice. So then, yeah, the SAMD one would be the one we'd be interested in here. But theoretically, we could attach some wires to there. I don't really know what the next step after that would be. Trying to use the JTAG, I guess. I've busted out a few times, but not necessarily. I would not call myself an experienced user necessarily. I don't really know the exact process for using it. Right. Does not have root group. Makes sense. You know, I guess we should try, I mean, surely it's the second display, right? I guess we should try, like, at various parts. If it doesn't actually complete, does it still mess up? Or is it only after we get the second display, that's when it starts to be a hard fault after? I bet that that's the case, but I don't know. We will have to change this, I guess, for the old version. Checking out some wires. Or make a pogo pin. Yeah. Hellbed. Oh, CodePy. We should, okay, yeah, we should be able to just change it in CodePy. By 16. Oh no, okay, that is inside constructor, line 111. ST7789 has no root group. Oh, I did monster mask not, okay. This was like a bodge fix anyway for the old... Actually, I forgot we had that in here. Wonder if that had any effect on our test. I think so, but it could. Okay, that's back to running. Press once. It's actually the right display that stays on in this case as well. Yeah, so good so far. Yeah. Okay. Let's just verify then the first one, like 80001, whatever. Let's just do like, I don't know, was that in alpha? It says, oh, that's a major release though. Could we find changes? Yeah. Let's release candidate 2. Candidate 1. Data 6. There we go. Changes since 800 beta 4. So 800 beta 4 should not have that in. 800 beta 5 should. So 8004. No problem there. So 8005. Let's keep changing. Oh. That crashes before. That one crashes before it gets to anywhere. Which is what we just fixed. I did just fix that the other day. It has to still be related. Let's look back over this code and see if we can spot anything. In lieu of not being able to get the actual stack trace, I guess one thing we could do is like add a crud load of prints. Just add prints everywhere, and then we'll see the last one that prints before it dies. E-paper display. I don't know. We might need some fixes in there as well, truthfully. Python terminal. Python splash. This is inside of what? Bindings display. Oh, init. So if root group is null, then we are setting root group to splash. So maybe here, maybe we need to be checking if splash is not in a group already. That happens inside here. Let's read on a bit. Get root group. If it's null, return none. Set root group. This is calling into core. Display core. Which is not this. This is common how. But this one also calls into core. And so this is actually one of the places where it's doing something which, like on this one, is causing the hard crash. In this case, it is actually putting the splash on another display when it's already in use. Reset display. Maybe we shouldn't be calling start terminal. Also, we should probably print the height and width right here, and that might shed some light on our duplication thing, potentially. This is back into e-paper. Display core, we have Play core set root group. Used to say start terminal here. So this would be one spot where it checks if it's in a group. If root group was CircuitPython Splash, this will notice if it's in a group and this will return false, which will go back to an if statement like this. Like this OK would be true or false. In that case, it'd be false, which would then cause this to get raised, which is basically what is causing our hard crash, although I don't know why it's a hard crash and not just raising the exception. This is basically one of the things I just fixed here, was checking if CircuitPython Splash is in use. Where's this at? This is in display, shared module display. Oh. Around 440. It's probably not exact on the numbers. So now I do have this check here now. I wonder if this should be inside. This code is weird. It's code we removed. I don't know that it's worth dwelling too much on it, but it seems awkward, right? This was saying splash in group equals false, but then going on to set root group equal to splash, which is then going to set current group to root group. This would make this true by executing all this stuff, but I don't know why it would be. I don't know why it would be setting it to false. That seems odd. So maybe this would set it back. We probably should be checking here if Splash is in a group or not, but I don't think that is the cause of our monster mask one, because this is not using frame buffer display on that device. CircuitPython 8 support multiple displays without a recompile. Can they be different displays like ePaper, TFT? Sorry if this has already been covered earlier. Yeah, no problem. First of all, even if it was covered earlier, no need to apologize. If you weren't here, you weren't here, right? If you're interested, I'm happy to share what I know. That being said, CircuitPython 8, there is precisely one device where it does not require the recompile, and it is this monster mask right here. However, I will say, like, what I'm debugging is a hard crash that basically comes from this device whenever it resets, which makes it pretty difficult to use for the time being. You can run your code once, but you can't like iterate. It hard crashes. This is the only device where it does not require a recompile, though. Every other single device would require a recompile. At a bare minimum, you would need to change this. You would need to add CircuitPython display limit 2 inside of your mpconfig board H in order to be able to use 2 displays. This is set to 1 by default for every other device that I'm aware of. To your other question, can they be different kinds of displays like ePaper and TFT? I think they can. On this device back here that I was messing with a bit ago, this is one display and one I2C display. An I2C display is a different object in the API, right? It's a different module. Is it? Well, I mean, it's the same module. It's still inside display.io, but it's a different kind of display. Like I2C display here is its own class. So I have one I2C display and one regular display, and that is working for me. I believe one ePaper display and one regular display would also work, but I don't know. I have not tried it. Okay. We're going to put a print here. And a print here. See if we get lucky and like only see one of these, and then we'll know that it crashed in between. I don't necessarily think we'll be that lucky, but let's also do a quick look on what is this? Oh. This is what I just added the other day, which is what makes it so that we don't hard fault as soon as it executes the first time. It's in the constructor. So that's if you call show and then pass in none, I believe. Not actually sure. Not positive. We maybe should be doing a check here as well. I'm not certain. It won't matter too much because not very much actually uses show anymore, I don't think. I mean, you can still call show, I guess, but this would only be if you called it. I don't even know if this is counting none, actually. I know null and none are technically different, but in this case, I don't know if it's like maybe someplace it's returning or it's changing from one to the other. This is just here, and we do have the check there. Okay. This is the only thing's doing anything with Splash. I gotta think it's related to the Splash somehow, which CircuitPython Splash, that's the terminal. That's the shell output that you can see ordinarily on the screen. You know, black screen, white text. This kind of stuff here, basically. Let's try this one. See if we see where we get on these prints here. We don't really need the debug build. That didn't actually do anything for us. Should I do another clean? Let's try without clean. Thanks. I have Halloween M0 Express one display and have done a RP2040 with e-ink and a ESP32S3 with TFT. And the OG ESP32 also want to get into LoRa next. Nice. Yeah, I will say fair warning on those devices you listed, the Hallowing, the M0 Express, that one, the M0s are very, very, very tight on space. I would be very not surprised at all if it were just not possible at all to do multiple displays on that one. I know it's got the one built in, which you can definitely do some stuff with, but yeah, just a heads up on that one. Any of the M0s are quite tight. As far as space and stuff goes, yeah, I think maybe we probably should have done a clean. Looks like. The rest of those, though, I would think you're probably all right on. RP2040, ESP32S2, I know is good. S3 I haven't done as much with, but I would assume it's probably okay. Although it is also like way more new than S2, and I do think there's more of the core modules that don't work yet, so maybe there could be some issues there, but I'm not certain. Go clean, and then we'll let that re-go. And then ESP32, the OG one. I've not done too much with that. I should. I got a Feather, Feather Huzzah V2 or something. I picked up one of those. You try CircuitPython on it, but I have not actually loaded it yet. Okay. Firmware. Yeah, other than this, I don't really know for sure where we'd be looking beyond this. Like, only other thing I know how to do is just start really sprinkling in lots of prints, like in the display constructor and things like that, to try and figure out where we actually make it to. Okay, so in this case, we got before start terminal, after start terminal, before start terminal, after start terminal. So we got it twice. Makes sense because it'd be one for each display. And this is inside reset display. I'm not sure who, like what. Oh, it reset already. Press Control C again. I'm not sure who or what within the system is responsible for calling reset display when Control C happens. But it's calling reset display on both displays, which does make sense. Like we already crashed here, right? Interestingly, we do actually get this, even though we are in hard fault mode. Get one. Okay. Go faster this time, I guess. Not wait for something to write randomly. Oh. It's different than the last build. Well, the very last thing we did was 8005, which is definitely different, but it's different, I thought, than the last build we got because now we're crashing before I print. Not actually getting a chance to print before we crash. It's certainly tricky. SP32 was with Arduino. Diabetic monitoring project, data from web, made it work on a different board. Nice. Tiny 1-inch display that shows the data in an unobtrusive way without opening a phone app. Nice. It's pretty cool. I love the idea of like taking really, really important information and putting it into a more convenient way to look it up rather than like a phone app sounds convenient. You're not actually using it, but yeah, if it's something you want to look at real quick or whatever, in its own little screen that's kind of like just for that is pretty nice. Okay. If we get anything useful printed with those. It's so weird that it's now it's like quicker now. Why would it be quicker? Because we were like explicitly being able to control C even multiple times, get multiple REPL prompts, and then only after I did a print H, that is when it actually hard faulted. But now press Control C and like we get a prompt, it starts like it's gonna work, but then hard crashes right away. Or construct, after construct. Setting that to root group after setting end of construct before on the next display before construct, after construct, end of construct, no setting splash because it was already in group. Control C once. It has not crashed yet. It says before supervisor start terminal, after supervisor start terminal, before, after. Now it has crashed. How's it going, DJ Devin? No. Unfortunately not. I'm on the backup still. So I had the wrong date in it. Yep. Thank you for the heads up. Should be fixed now? I don't know if you have to refresh or what. Not sure how that works when you rename it while it's live, but I just renamed it. Nice. Thank you. Yeah, unfortunately, no go on the computer yet. Trying a bunch of stuff. Fingers crossed, I'm hoping that I will have gotten one more response on my ticket with the hardware manufacturer tonight, but I don't know how realistic of a hope that is. I got some instructions from him earlier today, and I tried them out, and I tried to get back to him real fast to see if hopefully I could get one more response in before close of business. And then weekend, I'm kind of assuming I'm not going to get any action on the weekend from them, so it's fingers crossed, hoping for one more chance of stuff that they send me, but let's see. Yeah, I don't know. You know, one thing I do really, really wish is that the NVMe drives were not so hard to get to in that computer. It is like I'm gonna have to take out so many things in order to actually get to the NVMe drives. I was like, one idea I had was maybe I just get a new drive and put that in, and then set up a new OS on that new drive and just use that for the time being, and like whenever I'm ready, I can swap back to the old one and try to repair it again. But it's like probably a 30-minute process, if not longer, to get it open and get enough stuff out of it to be able to reach the NVMe drives. So like, it's not really a thing that I'm gonna swap, honestly, in any sense of the word. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I may end up just electing to reinstall and go with a new OS again on that drive, and I lose all my old stuff. Or I may not, I don't know. Computer builders are good at building PCs, not supporting them. Yeah, unless it's the OS developer. In this case, it is the OS developer who made the PC, although I will say it's not the OS I was using, I guess. They make Pop OS, which was not what I had on it, but they sold it with Ubuntu on it as well, so I do kind of expect some level of support. And I to be clear, also, I have gotten a lot of really good support. I would not even be knowing as much about what's wrong or even have gotten as close as I have with attempts to repair it without their help. So I don't want to make it out to seem like I'm not getting help from them. I absolutely am. And I'm, fingers crossed, I'm hoping that eventually we'll get through enough of the troubleshooting and try this that eventually we may get it resolved, but I am not sure. I'm inching ever closer as each day rolls on. I'm inching closer to falling on the side of the fence where I'm ready to just give up and start over. If the drives were easier to get to, I might pop that drive out just so it's just waiting there for us to go back to whenever we want, but it's not really that easy to swap. I don't know. Not thinking that's super realistic. All right, sorry, I'm rambling at this point. Let's try a Control C here. Crashed yet? So yeah, same thing here. It's like press it again. We don't get anything like, we don't get any of the setup or show constructor. We don't get any of those prints here. Not on the screen either. Camera just died on us. That's the list of the stuff that has died on us, but okay. Am I misremembering, or did we not totally have a build from main where I got one step further? Didn't I make a build off of main and we were able to break to REPL multiple times and then we only hard crashed when I did print. Am I misremembering? Didn't we do that off of main? So I'm gonna go new branch. I'm gonna push what I have, which is maybe we should undo that. I don't remember which. I don't remember if we had that or not. I guess that could make a difference. So let's try one more thing. Let's undo that. Undo that. Let's try one more build with that, without that in it. I don't really think that makes a difference with regards to where it hard faults. We'll see though. Maybe I'm wrong. Good to hear. Builder has good support even for super user like yourself. Any chance you were using a Samsung 980 Pro NVMe? They are known to have a corruption issue. Maybe. Maybe. I did not know about that. It is definitely a Samsung NVMe drive. I don't recall the model number or anything else about it. But I think there was a 9 in it. So maybe. They're known to have corruption issues. So I will say, like, current problem aside, current problem is that I can't boot into the OS. That whole problem aside, if we pretend like that's not the case, and we think back to the prior problem, which was segmentation faults during builds of CircuitPython. I don't have definitive proof or evidence just yet. I mean, I may never have definitive proof or evidence, I suppose. But I do think, right now, my leading theory is that those segmentation faults are a result of storage malfunction or corruption. That is my current belief. And I believe that because I installed a new OS on a new hard drive, which is how we got the current problem of not being able to boot. Again, that all aside, before that came up, I had installed a new OS on a new hard drive, and I was making CircuitPython builds from that new hard drive. I only did a handful, but I did not have any of the segmentation faults problems. So, yeah, got to do more testing, but I do think that's kind of my leading theory right now, is that the drive corruption or malfunction was the root cause of the segmentation faults. You have got to be kidding me. It truly actually is the case that removing or not removing microlab changes the behavior with regards to when we hard fault here. Because, okay, maybe not. Well, I mean, it did take way longer though, right? It took way longer. Maybe I got ahead of myself. I don't know for certain. It felt like it was, feels like it's different on the first try. Let's try again. That is so weird that would make any difference though, right? definitely get here. I can definitely do multiple. Well, that's a new wrinkle. Um, hmm. I'm surprised we don't see show or set group here. Can we make a dual party pair? As I saved that, we hard crashed. I think it's still a splash in use problem because right now, this is the display we're on, the left display. The left display is the built-in one. So it gets initialized by the system, and then CodePy runs, and in this case, CodePy has got this line of code right here, and this line of code right here goes inside of here. Goes inside of here. And has this display release displays. At that point, the original instance of the display object that was instantiated inside the core gets released. Next, this code here initializes both displays again. Even though the left one was already initialized before, we released it there, so it's no longer. We reset everything up. There's our left display setup. Here's our right display setup. In our case, CodePy is then drawing party pairs on both and changing the tile grids. Just reset itself. This time, it actually I'm assuming it hard crashed. It actually hard crashed before I ever did anything. Just let it run. So here's what I think is going on though, maybe. We're switching screens somewhere, aren't we? Because we run Party Parrot. We set up both of our displays manually. We run our Party Parrot. When I go like this, Control C once, the left screen is off. It's gone now. The right screen is still on. And this is where my REPL is. Wish you could get Go working on these devices. I don't know too much about Go, honestly. Checks both 980 and 990, which are extremely popular drives. 740 in the video. 980 and 990. Is there a newer one than those, or are those like the current model of Samsung One? And if so, has like Samsung said anything about that? Damage has already been done. There's no repair except the wipe. Well, if the drive has a hardware problem, I don't want to wipe it and reuse it. I want to change it. I want to get it out of my system because I want my system to be ideally rock solid, as reliable as I can make it. So if I know the drive, if I come to a conclusion that definitely the drive got corrupted, most likely I'm taking the drive out and just not using it anymore. It will suck because, like I mentioned earlier, it's probably like 30 or 45 minutes to get the rest of the crap out of the way to be able to actually get to the drive. That is good to know. Yeah, thank you for sharing this. This might be my issue. Like I said, I don't remember the model number for sure. You know what's kind of sucks though is I just literally just bought a Samsung. Sorry, we're going on a brief detour here. My apologies. This is a 970. Okay. So this drive that is in this backup computer, I just bought the other day. And I will say I had not ever heard of any of this issue with Samsung drives, and that Samsung was, probably not anymore, but was my go-to for storage for sure. So I will watch the firmware update for those SSDs is there. Yeah, I mean, that's cool. I would maybe try it on a machine I don't care about as much. For if I already, yeah, I don't know. For my daily driver, for my regular daily driver computer, I want zero questions. I don't want to update the firmware of the drive and then hope that it's okay after that. I'll just get a new drive for sure if there's any chance that one is bad. I have a 970 Evo Plus. Is a good drive, but the 980 and the 990 are faster. I was going to upgrade them right when this became public. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like it. Hopefully that's not what's in use, honestly. Thank you for bringing this up, though. Yeah, I had not ever seen or heard of this, and this very well might actually be my problem. I know for a fact they are Samsung NVMe drives in there, but I don't know the model or anything about it. So back to this though, we are on the other screen. We swapped somehow, right? This was the one that was initialized by board when it first booted up. We then released it and then manually initialized both, and then pressed Control C, which caused reset display to get called on both, which is where we added that printout. Thanks for showing this stuff. Reminds me I need to go support Adafruit and buy some things. Nice. Yeah, that's great to hear. I appreciate that. Yeah, like I said at the top of the show, purchasing hardware from them is helping support CircuitPython and all the open source projects that they pay developers to work on. So yeah, huge thanks for that. EM9A1 980 Pro NOD. I have it meant for high band bulk storage, VMs and stuff. It's important for an important PC. It's not something you'd want to risk. I understand that. 970 Evo Plus is a great drive. Personally use it, have no issues. Yeah, that is interesting. That is good to know. That is actually really good to know. I don't really want to go through the exercise of removing everything to get to the storage, but I will if I know the storage that's in it is known to have trouble. Let's add something in here. So my theory goes the rest of the way. Once we get to REPL is appearing on the right display. As soon as we reset, the next thing we do, like Control D, if Control D happens, it's gonna initialize this display. And it's gonna do it without calling release displays, question mark. I don't actually know if that's true or not, but maybe. Maybe when this one gets attempted to be initialized, CircuitPython Splash is still on this one. It's definitely not the solution. But one thing we could maybe do to test this is inside of construct, we could maybe not do this, just comment this code out. I think would make it so that we would never see the terminal on the display, but would also tell us if that is leading to the crash. So another theory is like maybe this crashes it. Maybe this is still an object in the old VM or in the REPL or whatever, somewhere else. I don't really know where it would be, but maybe it's like not available anymore. Maybe we're calling in group and that's like it's gone and that's when it crashes? No, total guess, but let me make another build actually before I copy this. Are we already in bootloader? I think ideally we would not swap, right? I feel like it would be ideal if at this point when we got to here by pressing Control C once, wouldn't it be ideal if the splash was over here, I think. Because that's the built-in display. Like realistically, the right display should only ever be used from user code on this device. It should be only if the user code initializes it and only whatever they draw on it. I feel like the splash should always be on this display because that's the built-in one. That's the one that's defined inside the board definition. But I guess it goes to this one because it calls start terminal? My assumption is that this gets called on both displays, and my assumption would be it gets called in the order they're defined, which is left display is first and then right display. Since right display comes second, maybe that's why the display ends up there, but this doesn't really specify a display, right? What does this actually do? Supervisor shared display. That's just in the root also. Supervisor in the base. Start terminal. This does not do a whole lot at all, does it? Oh, well, I guess the meat of it's in here, though. Set scale to 2. It sets the scale of CircuitPython splash to 2. If CircuitPython terminal IO scroll area. Oh. Scroll area text grid? I have no idea what that is. Use the previous allocation. Reset tiles. Terminal construct. I don't really get how it ends up on the wrong screen though. I mean, wrong screen. I don't understand how it ends up on the other screen, I should say. I don't know if it's really right or wrong, but okay. We did make a build, right? I think we made a build. Had some extra prints in it. We are currently in bootloader, just waiting to copy. Let's do that. I'm gonna do Control D, and it's gonna hard crash. So it did call reset on both displays again. And this time, this was never not in a group. Makes sense. It was in the group on this display. It does make sense. And then this side, it I could see a little bit farther back. It actually starts with the very first lines I can see are before and after. These two lines here, basically. And there is none of this in it. Which means it still thought that CircuitPython Splash was in a group. Here's Tom's hardware that covers the issue and the fixed method. It was featured in Gamers Nexus video. Nice. Thank you. Take a look at that. Kind of surprised we don't see like any of the prints from the setup the next time around. It's like the board would initialize again. Would have thought when the board initialized again that we'd see these things happen again. Like before the hard crash. Maybe that's a hint. Okay. Let's try one thing. So I know like we are kind of pretty much at time. I'll say like I don't necessarily have an exact set time, but I usually go about 2 hours, and we have been going for about 2 hours. I'm probably gonna wrap it up fairly soon. We did not exactly necessarily make it very far, obviously. We still have mysterious hard fault, or hard crash, I should say. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try not calling start terminal unless we are actually gonna call set root group also. Because before we were calling start terminal and then sometimes not calling set root group based on whether or not this evaluated to true or false. It feels like we shouldn't call this unless we're gonna do this. So I'm gonna try it in here. We'll see what happens. I don't necessarily have really any idea of what to try next, so probably no matter what we get from this, I'll wrap it up for tonight and do some more pondering and see if I can come up with what would be a next good troubleshooting step. It might be worth trying to get back. Well, we see after though, so we know we're not crashing inside of here somewhere. Hey. Back my foot, buddy. Come on. I feel like the error has got to be somewhere in here, though, because it seems to coincide with the display API change pretty directly. Like we saw beta 4 was fine, which was before the change. Beta 5 was the first one after the change. It was actually worse than current. It was a hard crash right out of the gate. The more current versions of main, it's not a hard crash out of the gate, but it is still a hard crash after the reset. Yeah, so the difference now is we only got one of these. We are still on the other display. I do still think is weird. Like, if we have control over it, I feel like we probably want to land on this one. But we are live, and we're current, and we're good on the right display. Everything is actually working. I'm going to try reset. Control D. Hard crash. This time I actually see different stuff over here. Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like it scrolled by too fast. Like it would be up here further. We can't actually see it, but it's... I can see the end of root group, and I can see end of construct. It must be these two. I see the end of this, and I see this. But is that from before safe mode, or is that already? Like, once we're in... Are these prints already from the safe mode instance? So adding the if statement, or moving the start terminal into the if statement did not seem to make any difference. I mean, it printed, obviously, one less chunk of those things, but... Try this. I'm curious if we have the sleep here, will it still hard crash like instantly when you control D, or will it wait 5 seconds and therefore it's waiting until we start doing other stuff? Do we think this actually saved? Probably, right? So we should have basically like 5-second delay here before anything happens. Should maybe print one more. I'm curious if any of these come from the original instance in the board definition or not, but I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to press Control D. If it hard crashes pretty much instantly, then we know that it's not waiting until it actually tries to initialize the displays again. It's actually crashing sometime before that. If it does wait for the 5 seconds, though, then we know that it's actually when it tries to initialize the display the second time. Pretty much instant. Pretty much instant. Pretty much instant. Does it call release displays in the core? When it first sets up the display? Is there any reason to think we might want to call release displays here? Because, like, my theory kind of is that the splash is on the right screen, which is not the screen that the system knows anything about. The system doesn't even really know about this display. Only user code does. I mean, it has pins and stuff. I shouldn't say it doesn't know anything about it, but it's not using it. I wonder if by the time we get to here, which is like instantaneous, because this is as soon as CircuitPython is booting up, basically. By the time we get to here, maybe our splash is still on this. And I'm not exactly sure why our if statements are not like handling it and causing us to just not try to re-add it. But my theory is maybe it is trying to re-add it and our if statements are not handling it. And if we could do display IO release displays here, God, buddy, why with the grabbing of the... If we could do it here, is there any reason to think that it would give up, like release the display on the right display? Doesn't feel like the right place for it, even if this does work, though. It feels like that should be happening maybe like system shut down rather than system boot up. Let's try putting this here. Yeah, honestly, I guess adding some prints into here probably would be smart anyway. Because in here, I guess, might be when it's crashing. All right, we're going to try this one, and then I think I'm going to wrap it up after that for the night. Okay, so worth noting, all the displays are up and running, which is a good sign. It means we didn't just break displays altogether. Let's see our prints at all, though, which implies that board init never ran, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? Are we in the right board here? Monster Mask board? We need to do a clean? Shouldn't we have seen these things? I don't know if I trust it. It just reset itself. Probably hard crashed after that, I'm guessing. Let's try it clean. And then, yeah, either way this one goes, I think I'll wrap it up after that. Not sure. I feel like we should see these print first time, basically. I mean, it'd be before all of this stuff, basically, I think. Should be probably the first thing we see, I would have thought. Maybe it happens too fast. Maybe it happened, yeah, maybe it already happened. That's actually probably the case. Oh, but that's gonna make it, like, how do we troubleshoot it if we can't see the output from it, right? Yeah, that's tricky. It's probably happening before we get connected. Means we can't really see any of the prints ever. So we could somehow add more sleep into there. I don't even know if that works inside the core. You don't see any of it. I think it must happen before it's connected. Let's press Control D, and as soon as we press Control D, we get disconnected and we go back. I can see here at the very top of this, I can see end of constructor, which we don't see anywhere in here. So that is one of the things that we missed by not being connected yet. We did make it to the end of the constructor as it printed, but we are just in the hard fault. Okay, I know I said I was gonna go after that. I'm trying literally one more thing. If we catch the Control C and release the displays, does it still hard fault? Hard crash. Is there a difference between a hard crash and a hard fault? I don't really know. I'm using them interchangeably. Sorry if that's improper. I don't know why I just went to the bootloader, and we don't need to do that because we're not installing a new one. So, but we're not going to see the REPL on the displays. That makes sense because we released them. Do we still crash on Control D? No. Well, not hard crash. We don't hard crash anymore. Now we crash on this. Okay. I feel like that helps shed light a little tiny bit. I don't know exactly what that tells us, but I feel like that does actually get us a bit farther. I think that does tell us that basically something is still in use, and that is why we are hard faulting, I feel like. Because when we explicitly release and then come back around again, we don't hard fault. Interestingly, we do crash with an exception, which I do find strange. 102. Let's look at this line of code. Initializing SPY. And this would have just called release displays here. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Like I said, I don't know the full, like, what does it actually mean? Where does it get us to? I'm not sure. But that, I think, fills in a bit of it for us, so have to ponder on that a bit and see what we can come up with next for some good steps to try. That's weird. Yeah, I don't know why it would be in use, because it definitely releases it right here. And I doubly don't know why it would be in use. Why we would now suddenly be seeing this exception of it in use when we weren't before, and the change we made was to actually release it again. Like, this should be releasing it so that it's not in use, I think. That's my understanding of it. And then technically this would be should be redundant at that point. But then by the time we do actually get down to here, for some reason it thinks it's back in use. Okay. Okay. We got a bit further. I think we're on to the next link in the chain here. So I'm going to wrap it up for now. Thank you for hanging out, folks. Thanks for watching. Thank you to all the folks in the chat. We had a couple of good questions over on YouTube and Discord and all that stuff today, so thanks for those folks. Thank you, DJ Devin, for the note about the hard drive. I'm going to check in to see if that is my hardware model or not. You may have solved my mystery there, so fingers crossed on that. We'll see where we end up. Thank you to everybody else for watching. I hope everyone has a good night. I will be back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Central Time. If you're interested in this sort of content, I'll be back with another stream tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Central Time. It will be over on my own Twitch and YouTube, so you can follow me, FoamyGuy_Twitch, if you want notifications for that. Otherwise, you can check out the live broadcast chat room on the Discord in the morning, and I'll drop links in there when I get started. And then hopefully by tomorrow, I will try to get the new OBS so that I can have the chats back on the stream like we normally do. So we'll see. Try get the new OBS tonight, and then hopefully we can get that hooked up for tomorrow. I'm thinking we'll probably continue on with this in the morning. I don't know for 100% sure. I reserve the right to change my mind, I guess, basically. But for right now, at least, I do think this is what I'll probably end up working on in the morning as well. Continuing on here to see if we can't shed any more light on this. So thanks again, everybody. Have a good night to all of you, and I will see you all next time. Thanks.